This is KGW News at noon.
We need to kind of pull all these parties together and say, what really makes sense? What's the big plan? What's the big challenge?
In an update to a story we've been covering for years, Governor Tina Kotek calls timeout on the idea of tolling Oregon freeways. The governor told the State Transportation Commission to cancel plans for tolls along I-5 and I-205. Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Drew Carney. Governor Kotek explained her reasons for pulling the plug in a letter that she sent to the commission on Monday, saying the challenges of tolling simply outweigh the anticipated benefits. ODOT said before that tolls would help pay for transportation improvements in the state and provide more efficient trips through the metro area. But a lot of people have been against this idea, and the governor's announcement came as a big relief.
We've opposed tolling. We've really opposed it because of the disproportionate burden it places on low income and folks without the means to pay and the communities near the tolls.
We just heard from the mayor of West Linn there. We'll get back to West Linn in a second. For starters, though, the governor's decision does not impact the possibility of tolling the I-5 bridge between Portland and Vancouver. But in a meeting this morning, Clackamas County commissioners did raise questions about the Abernathy Bridge on I-205 that connects West Linn and Oregon City. Construction is already underway to make improvements to that bridge, and ODOT wanted tolls there to pay for that project. We're working to find more information about this afternoon on where that project stands. We'll have more for you coming up later today on KGW News at 4. The Federal Aviation Administration, meanwhile, says it found dozens of problems during a 6-week audit of Boeing's production line for the 737 MAX 9 jet. That's according to a report this week in the New York Times. The audit started after January's door panel blowout on a 737 MAX 9 operated by Alaska Airlines that took off from Portland. The Times report says Boeing failed 33 out of 89 tests during the audit. The report also says that mechanics working on the MAX 9 applied liquid dish soap as a lubricant to a door seal during the fitting process. In a related story, another complaint was filed today against both Boeing and Alaska on behalf of 26 passengers who were on board that January flight from Portland. The complaint seeks punitive damages based on new evidence. It also alleges physical and emotional injuries for the passengers, including stress, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, and hearing damage. The city of Salem is considering a plan to cut ties with the private ambulance company that it currently uses and instead use the city's fire department to handle ambulance duties. KGW's Catherine Cook explains why the fire department says this would be a win-win for Salem.
For the last 9 years, the city of Salem has been contracting with private ambulance company Falck. Their contract ends in July of 2025. When that happens, the city is thinking about turning over all ambulance services to the Salem Fire Department, replacing Falck.
Quite frankly, it's not working.
Fire Chief Mike Niblock gave 2 reasons Monday night. First, he said Falck hasn't been meeting response standards. He also summarized why it makes financial sense for the city to take over ambulance services as a source of revenue.
Operating costs for the system about $10 million a year. We're going to have $12 million in revenue plus the GEMT, so $17 million in revenue.
GEMT stands for the Ground Emergency Medical Transportation Services Program. Back in 2016, lawmakers passed a bill allowing the program, which lets government agencies recoup some of the ambulance billing limits Medicare sets for its patients.
And for us, for last year's numbers, that's $4.3 million in revenue that we're leaving on the table.
But the department says their motives are not all financial. Niblock explained that over the last 2.5 years, Falck has struggled to meet their weekly 1,030-hour service obligation. A recent study commissioned by the fire department showed in recent weeks, Falck has only managed around 600 hours. So in 2021, Salem Fire began staffing up 2 of their own ambulances to help meet the city's need. This year, they say that'll cost $2.2 million. For the firefighters union, that's frustrating.
Falck Ambulance has been subsidizing their business on the backs of my members with your money for 27 months. Enough is enough.
For its part, Falck says they only learned about the city's recommendation to move ambulance services in-house last week.
We simply want to be able to compete for the right to be your partner next year and are open to discussing system design changes, but we have to be included. This report was not shared with us and was not a collaborative effort. It has been rushed to council without proper vetting.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
All right, quick break from our news headlines this afternoon to check in the Weather Center. Rod Hill standing by right there. What do you have for us, Rod?
Well, one of our big headlines is still the fact that the rain we get between now and the end of today, that's it. The forecast goes dry tomorrow and stays dry for about a week. So let's get through today if you're tired of the cooler temperatures, the clouds, and the rain. This is still a chilly flow pattern overall working in from the west. And you can see the scattered shower activity really across all of our state and up into southwest Washington. Snow levels are currently down near to below 3,000 feet in the Cascades. The passes show pretty good snow cover. Timberline's picked up 14 inches of snow. Going back to yesterday, by the way, so it's coming down. And we have, as we expected, some heavier rain shower pockets that have been migrating across the valley. Some live cameras for you. A lot of them are showing some mix of blue sky. Here's Lincoln City, Schnuckwins Casino Resort. Raindrops on the lens, 50 degrees. Down the valley, there's a big patch of blue from Willamette Valley Vineyard sitting just south of Salem. But then you look at this one, and boy, that looks stormy looking out from the Oregon Garden Resort camera in Silverton. Portland, we haven't seen a whole lot of sun. We're at 51 degrees. More showers to come. We'll be 50, 52 throughout the afternoon. Showers should shut off completely tonight. The update on the warm temperatures coming ahead of my 7-day forecast.
All right, Rob, we look forward to that here in a few minutes. Right now, though, back to some headlines in our news portion of the program. Today we know is presidential primary day for the state of Washington. So here's the bottom line. Ballots need to be postmarked with today's date or dropped in a ballot box by 8 o'clock tonight in order to count. Also, for the primary only, you do have to designate a party affiliation on your ballot envelope. Today is also the deadline to register to vote in Washington or update your registration. Oregon's primary, meanwhile, not until May 21st, but today is the deadline for people to apply if they want to run for office in Oregon. After today, the next date on the local election calendar is April 30th. That's Oregon's voter registration deadline. Several other states around the country also holding primaries today, including Georgia and Mississippi. So depending on how things shake out, it's possible that by day's end, both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump will clinch their party's nomination. One thing's for sure, both men already have their sights set on a showdown this November.
Many of my Republican friends want to put Social Security and Medicare back on the chopping block again. If anyone tries to cut Social Security, Medicare, or raise retirement age again, I will stop them.
Tremendous bad management of entitlements. There's tremendous amounts of things, numbers of things you can do.
So coming into today, President Biden needed just under 2,000 delegates to win the Democratic nomination, while former President Trump needed just over 1,200 delegates to win the Republican nomination.